This podcast is brought to you by Three Rivers Energy Partners. In today's episode of Digest This.
Virginia's operating data center capacity hit 5,926 megawatts.
RWE Americas aims to add 9 gigawatts of capacity by 2031.
Once both phases, A and B, are done in 2029, this project will sit at 1.6 gigawatts.
Welcome to Digest This, Unpacking Our Sustainable Future, where we dive deep into the latest developments in sustainability and renewable energy. Join us in exploring the pioneering solutions and technologies that are shaping our future. Now, let's dive into today's episode.
Welcome to the show, everyone. I'm your new host, Nick. I'm here with Emily. And Emily, I want to start today with a number that is frankly staggering. In 2024, Virginia's operating data center capacity hit 5,926 megawatts. That is basically 5 nuclear power plants worth of electricity just to run the servers powering our digital lives and AI models.
5 nuclear plants, and that is why they call Northern Virginia Data Center Alley. It is the undisputed global hub for data storage. But what is fascinating is the collision course this massive power demand is on with state climate policies. Virginia is scheduled to rejoin the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, or RGGI, in July 2026. Because of the way the state is re-entering, policy analysts at the American Action Forum point out that the state has to act as if it never left in 2023. That means they are facing a massive 61% carbon reduction target by 2030 compared to 2027 levels.
A 61% cut in just a few years, while data center demand is exploding, is a wild regulatory whiplash, and the market is already reacting. On the Intercontinental Exchange, daily futures prices for RGGI carbon allowances spiked to a historic high of $52.50 on May 4th, 2026, right after the state's re-entry announcement.
$52.50. That shows how incredibly tight the allowance market is, especially since the regional cost containment reserve of 7.9 million short tons of CO2 was already completely exhausted in the March 2026 auction. Even though Virginia plans to inject 1.1 million tons into its own cost reserve, it is a drop in the bucket. And here is the rub. Virginia already has the Virginia Clean Economy Act, which mandates 100% carbon-free electricity by 2045. Layering RGGI on top of that creates massive policy friction and administrative burdens that ultimately get passed down to consumers.
Exactly. Dominion Energy is projecting that their summer peak load will shoot up by 70% between 2022 and 2045, mostly driven by AI. Without the data center boom, that growth would only be 15%. To manage this, the State Corporation Commission is stepping in with a new rate structure starting in January 2027, requiring large volume users like these data centers to pay for at least 85% of their contracted transmission capacity, whether they use it or not. It is a protective measure, so regular households do not get stuck with the bill for massive grid upgrades.
It makes sense, but it also explains why tech giants are taking matters into their own hands to secure dedicated clean energy. Look at what Meta and RWE just pulled off in Texas. They signed a long-term power purchase agreement for the Rabbit's Foot solar project in Bowie County. That is a 298-megawatt solar facility set to break ground and begin commercial operations by late 2027.
That addition brings Meta and RWE's shared portfolio to a whopping 872 megawatts over the last 2 fiscal years. They have already got the Emily assets in Illinois, Lafitte in Louisiana, and Waterloo in Texas. What I love about Rabbit's Foot is the local economic story. RWE is projecting over $50 million in tax revenues over 40 years. That money goes directly to the local DeKalb School District, Texarkana College, and emergency services. It is a massive win for rural Bowie County.
It is an interesting blueprint. Meta gets clean, stable power directly feeding into the Texas grid to offset their massive data processing, and local communities get critical infrastructure funding. But as RWE Americas aims to add 9 gigawatts of capacity by 2031 to support this advanced computing boom, we have to look at the broader grid stability picture. You cannot run a 24/7 data center on solar power alone when the sun goes down.
And that brings us to the ultimate puzzle of the energy transition, balancing the grid. Now, we are seeing massive scale up on the wind side too. Just on June 11, 2026, RWE installed the very first turbine at the Nordsee Cluster A offshore wind farm in the German North Sea. Once both phases, A and B, are done in 2029, this project will sit at 1.6 gigawatts.
A 1.6 gigawatt offshore wind cluster. That is massive. They are expecting it to generate 6.5 terawatt hours of electricity annually. Even tech giants are jumping on this. Amazon already signed a corporate power purchase agreement for 110 megawatts from Nordsee Cluster B. This is where I get realistic about the limits of weather-dependent generation. When the wind dies down in the North Sea, or when clouds roll over Texas solar panels, you need dispatchable, reliable baseload power.
Right, and historically, grids have relied on coal or fossil natural gas to fill those gaps. But if we want to actually hit net zero, we need a green alternative. That is where renewable natural gas, or RNG, comes in as a massive, often overlooked piece of the puzzle. RNG is chemically identical to conventional natural gas, meaning it can use the existing pipeline infrastructure, but it is captured from organic waste.
The organic waste aspect is beautiful from a circular economy standpoint. We are talking about capturing methane from landfills, agricultural manure, and wastewater treatment plants. Methane that would otherwise escape directly into the atmosphere, where it is over 25 times more potent as a greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. By digesting this waste in anaerobic facilities, we purify it into pipeline-quality biomethane.
It is the ultimate double whammy for sustainability. You mitigate potent agricultural and municipal emissions, and then you use that captured gas to run highly flexible, dispatchable power plants. When solar drops off at 6 p.m., just as everyone turns on their air conditioning, RNG-powered turbines can ramp up instantly to keep the grid stable. It is the perfect, continuous baseload partner to intermittent wind and solar.
Exactly. Diversification is the only way we build a resilient grid that can handle both the AI boom and our aggressive climate goals. We cannot rely on a single silver bullet.
Well said, Emily. That is all for today's quick take. We'll leave you with this to chew on. As we build out the digital future, the strength of our grid won't just depend on how many solar panels or wind turbines we install, but on how smartly we integrate circular, reliable energy solutions like RNG to keep the lights on. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you for listening to Digest This, Unpacking Our Sustainable Future, a Three Rivers Energy Partners podcast. Three Rivers Energy Partners is a renewable energy company that empowers organizations with the ability to create a sustainable future by converting organic waste streams into renewable energy and resources. To get the latest episode of Digest This, or to find out more about Three Rivers Energy Partners, visit threeriversenergy.com or find us on LinkedIn, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. The sustainable future is being created right now. Keep exploring and keep up to speed with the latest in renewable energy and sustainability. See you next time.